Good morning, everybody. So, as I'd shared earlier, that I needed a sense of how to move forward. You know, we have a lot of work to do to try to move the department forward and make sure we fulfill our mission, which involves service to the community, and we need a full functioning department to be able to do that. So, this plan was instrumental, or is instrumental, in helping us lay out a pathway to make sure that happens. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
One of the things I noticed on the plan sheet near the end, where you've written that you wanted to talk to official and unofficial community leaders. Mm-hmm. Can you go into some detail about what you mean by official and unofficial community leaders? Sure.
You've got a number of organizations that are out there, and they have, you know, people put in place as their spokespeople or staff. And then you also have people who've been out in the community for a while and have earned the respect of people in the community, and then also in organizations like ours. But they definitely seem to have their finger on the pulse of, you know, some of the things that are going on. So I want to talk to everybody, quite frankly. That's a fancy way of saying I'm going to talk to everybody.
So do you mean sort of the community-based organizations, you know, like the Baden's Iberos, or the unofficial would be people who've been leading the protests for the last few months?
Yeah, that I would say all of the above. Yeah, certainly if somebody wants to have a conversation about issues impacting their communities, I'm certainly not going to tell them no. So between my staff and I, we're going to sit down with as many people as we can to make sure we're as informed as we can be about the issues impacting the city of Rochester. So,
Chief, I know you made the announcement yesterday, but for folks out there who are not familiar with your 90-day plan, tell us the importance of this 90-day plan.
Good question. The importance is that we've laid out goals that's going to help us focus on specific areas so that we can be as formed as possible. So, for example, I mentioned goal 1 is assess the current leadership of the police department. Well, as many folks know, you know, walking into this position I had some leadership challenges. You know, through resignations and retirements, we had some spots to fill. And so if we're going to be a fully functioning organization that we can, you know, be there for the public and assist them in any way we can, then we need competent leadership at the helm. So that was my priority when I walked in the door. And so, as you're aware, we put out a press release notifying everybody who those appointments are. And and you're also going to see that some of these things I've already been working on, but that's how important it was, like I said, for me to hit the ground running and put those people in place. So that, like I said, I mentioned number 1 as an example, but there are 8 total, but they're intended to guide us to ensure we get the department on track and moving forward in a very positive way as soon as possible. So.
Why do you think other plans have failed?
Other plans?
Previous plans from other chiefs, and why is this one different?
Well, I can't speak for all chiefs, but I can say that for me, part of this involves listening to the community, and I don't see a failure in that at all. So if out of our goals, we're listening, and some of the concerns that are brought to the table, and we see that those are addressed, that's a win-win for me. But I've also said from day one that this is a partnership. I'm not in this to wear those 4 stars and let the public know, you know, here's my plan and here are things going to work. Day one, we're going to be working together. So,
how confident are you that this plan is going to work going forward?
I'm confident. Some of the things we look at are not just my experience in and out of the department, but the experience of my team. But also we look at things like what are the best practices that are out there. And you'll note I specifically referred to the, excuse me, the 21st century policing. And So, for example, we've connected that. The executive deputy chief did a good job of taking that goal and connecting that, for example, to the anti-violence plan that we put out. So we set these points for a reason, and we want those things to guide us because we put a little bit of time into ensuring that we're coming from a position of knowledge and experience as to what are the best ways to try to move the department forward.
I have a question about the anti-violence plan, but I wanted to ask you first about the timeline. I see you have timeline, 20, 40 days. How realistic are these timelines? Will they be met within those days, or will some time be needed to make sure that these goals are met?
No, one of the important aspects of a plan like this is you have to be flexible. And let's face it, this is law enforcement. We never know what might happen, what might kind of interfere with some of the things we're trying to do, and it may hold us up a little bit. So it may take a little longer, it may take a little later, or we may be able to do it quicker than the timeline I've gotten. That would be nice. But being flexible and trying to, kind of steer it in the right directions if that's necessary. That's what I find is most important.
Right. On my anti-violence question, I know there was an announcement made on Friday, and then we had 2 homicides over the weekend. What's your reaction? I mean, because you and the mayor came out with the announcement, and then this happened.
Well, I'm going to kind of borrow from the executive deputy chief's comments when we spoke about it over the weekend, and that is that change takes time. We had just put these goals out, and so we need to have time for that to work. But even some of the incidences that have happened in the last several days, we have our analysts hard at work to make sure we look at that information, see what we can glean from that, and then use that to inform, tweaks or changes to the plan. So stay tuned, because those things are going to direct us, but we're certainly keeping an eye on it.
The 90-day plan seemed to me to be more transitional than operational. It didn't have a lot of, we will do this, that, and the third on specific things.
Right.
Am I interpreting that correctly? This is more, once you get your information from this plan, you will then use that information to then create more operational, if this is how RPD will do things?
Right.
Am I reading that correctly?
No, yeah, you're correct. It's more transition, and a big part of that is I'm walking in the door not necessarily having access to all information. Some is confidential, some I'm going to be just learning. So I have to have a sense of preliminarily, what kind of direction I want to take or what some of the causes might be to certain issues I'm seeing. So certainly transition in that as I get in and learn more. But that's also why 90-day plans, you want to be flexible because you're going to learn more information, come across other reports that maybe you didn't have access to before you started, and so you want to be able to make changes based on that. So definitely transitional, more transitional, and it'll impact operations more so as we move forward.
Can you talk about when the 90-day plan, did you meet with people within the Rochester Police Department, the community, to kind of come up with a plan?
Yes. So, for example, certainly I've got a wealth of knowledge that's standing up here alone, so I took advantage of that. Also, based on my community experience, I've tried to stay as connected as possible to people out in the community. And dealing with justice system disparities has always been a passion of mine for some time. So it's not that I've been too far away from discussing what some of the issues are that have an impact on some of the things the police department's dealing with. So certainly we've done that. I've already met with some of the community leaders I know, advisors, people who've been involved in these different areas for years. And really I want to personally thank them because they've been more than willing to volunteer their time to sit down with me and kind of give me their feedback on some of the issues that they've seen or things they've been dealing with. So based on a lot of preliminary interviews and discussions. So, and that will be ongoing. Yeah, you'll see quite a bit of that.
Do you know how long you anticipate to be in the interim role?
Well, I know I committed to a year, So I can assure you that. Once I take on a responsibility, I will see it through. So I will commit to that. I'll be here for a year.
What are you hoping to accomplish at the end of the 90 days? Sorry, that's it.
No, I want, the goal here is to get us, by that I mean the police department, set on a focused track for moving forward. That we've got goals, we've got objectives, things that we're following that's going to get us towards an end point, which at the end of the day, hopefully will leave us better than how we initially started. So improvement should be continuous, but all this does is kind of help us set a direction for that. So we're not not communicating with each other. The right hand knows what the left is doing, and that we're clear about the initial expectations. So we're going to tweak that. We're going to make changes, and I'm a firm believer that if I knew all the answers, I wouldn't need these folks behind me. So, I mean, they're here for a reason. I believe in bringing in the smart people, and then you let them do their jobs, and you listen to them when they have advice to give you. So with those things all combined, I think we're in line to kind of really set ourselves on a good path. So I'm excited about that.
How much of this new 90-day plan comes from your experience? Because I know you were here for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it comes from your experience?
I would say a decent amount. So, like, for example, critical stakeholders, I know that's necessary, but who those people are, I may need to get a bit more up to speed. So I'll talk to my folks. So, for example, our Community Affairs Bureau, because they've built those relationships, have been out there talking to people. So, you know, I'm obviously going to go to them and get their feedback as to who should be added to that. And when we talk about some of the issues the department's facing, you know, there's some I know, but I know from reading your reports and some of the things you've written. But as I transition into the department, then I'll learn a little bit more. There may be other areas I need to try to focus on. So that's why I try to be flexible. I may have some decent preliminary information, but then I need to inform that. So I've probably got the best to-date information as possible.
The report had, listed the goals, but I didn't pick up on there, the specific objectives of how they would be measured if you meet those goals. Meeting with, X number of community people. It seemed a little vague as to what the measure would be if the goal was achieved. Can you go into how you're going to know that the goals that you've set out on that transition plan have been achieved?
Sure. I didn't set a specific number intentionally because I don't know what that would be. I may talk to 10 people, and out of those 10, maybe 3 may recommend others that they think would be helpful for me to have a conversation with. So, and I don't expect that to stop for the entire time I'm in the interim role. I may be talking to people up till the time I, say goodbye and thank everybody for their hard work. So I want to be as informed as possible, but I can't say that after I've talked to a certain amount of people that I might not learn a little bit more, and there are other people I need to speak with. So, but that's intentional, because I just don't have a hard answer to that, and I don't think I need one either.
That was just sort of an example, but some of the others, like, review the 6 pillars of 21st century policing. Is there a way to know that those have been done, and then, how metrics is the buzzword these days? What are the metrics for achieving your goals, Chief?
Well, actually, you're raising 2 good points with that. So, for example, in looking at our alignment, there are those 6 pillars. So we'll take those pillars and then come up with an internal process that's going to increase our ability to, like you said, be able to tell. So, for example, if one of those is to be more transparent. So do we see other areas that we maybe are at a level of transparency, but maybe we can increase that? Those are the things we're going to be looking for. And so, for example, there are a couple of colleagues of mine that are members of other law enforcement agencies that have worked in this realm and on this sort of issue for some time. I have a lot of respect for them, so they're going to be, you know, some of my advisors, chiefs in other cities, that I know their quality of work. I know they're committed, ethical leaders, and certainly I'm going to, you know, listen to their advice. So.
Chief, I have a question. Obviously, today's election day.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any preps that the department has taken just in case there's rioting or civil unrest following tonight's election?
Yeah, we have, but I must say that I would encourage the community to be calm on that, because we're prepared, but we haven't gotten any credible information that there are going to be any issues on that. The executive deputy chief is working with the patrol staff operations to make sure we're, like you said, ready just in case, but we haven't not heard anything where I have any real concerns at this point, so fortunately. But we're prepared, though, just in case.
Kind of going on that a little bit, but you know, we still see gatherings at MLK Park and protests in the community and things like that. What has RPD done different in its response with protesters and monitoring and making sure that, you know, protests remain peaceful? Anything under your almost month watch now that has changed in the response?
No, no major changes. I mean, clearly we believe people have a right to protest and to do so in a peaceful manner. Our goal is to make sure they're able to exercise that right, and that, you know, as a result, nobody gets hurt. So, so for example, we've seen a few incidences where, you know, people's intent was to just have a peaceful march, and then you get, you know, additional people coming. You can't always control who the attendees are, and so, you know, they may get into the streets a little bit, and, you know, there's an issue with traffic, so we try to guide that. But, you know, that's our goal, is to just allow people to protest in a way they have a right to, but also to make sure that nobody gets hurt. So we'll continue that.
Great, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't met personally, but I'm Patrick.
All right, nice to meet you, Patrick. I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Definitely.
All right.